Bankai, the final stage of a Zanpakuto, the highest level that a Shinigami can reach. When someone achieves it, they instantly become a legend in Soul Society. The power is so enormous that it can take up to 10 years to master. Except this dude. But with the 1000-year Blood War arc, we have got to see some insane new Bankai that have blown us away. And not only have we seen some new ones, we have seen upgrades on those we've already come to know and love. So today, we're going to rank the top test Bankai in Bleach, but with a twist. Now, if we just rank this list on pure strength, then it will be pretty straightforward, right?
Yes.
So, with our degree in anime bullshit science, we figured out a way to rank these Bankai based on 4 crucial categories. Number 1. The raw power of the Bankai. Number 2. The situational advantage a Bankai provides. Just imagine, not only being able to use your full power under a unique circumstance, such as Soifon, she requires help for it to be effective, right? And she can only use it twice a day. On top of that, I'm gonna say it. Number 3. Special abilities of a Bankai, meaning extra powers and utilities that don't really relate to the original power. For example, look at Yamamoto. He can literally resurrect the dead. And why can he do this?
I don't know.
Finally, number 4. The drawbacks. Because despite the broken power of these Bankai, some rank lower on the list than others, purely due to the horrible drawbacks. Unohana's Bankai is a prime example. If she didn't have her healing, it would just melt her skin off and kill her. And since we love to go balls deep, DBZ Imran is joining us. He has been doing excellent analysis of Bleach for a long time, so check him out if you want more peak fiction. Also check out animeexplained.com, where we keep you up to date on breaking news in the industry, top 10 lists, and detailed breakdowns of any anime series. The link will be in the description. You won't regret it. Bookmark that shit. To start off the list, editor, please can I have a drum roll?
No.
We have given the 10th spot to Zaraki Kenpachi, the ultimate Chad. To be able to understand why his Bankai is ranked 10th, we have to understand what it even does. Kenpachi's Bankai is still unnamed, but its concept is pretty simple. You basically become a freaking Oni with ridiculous raw power. His physical prowess gets increased by a tremendous amount, along with his slashing abilities, being able to cut anything. For example, he was able to easily topple a giant Gerard and rip off his arm. He even cut through him from a distance, despite the fact that he's a melee range fighter, all due to his Bankai. In addition, Kenpachi is the epitome of raw strength within the whole series. But you're probably thinking, ABD, why the heck is his Bankai last on the list then? Well, that's because even though we all love Zaraki Kenpachi, we are ranking the Bankai themselves in isolation, and not actually the characters themselves wielding it. There are 2 main issues when it comes to Kenpachi's Bankai. First off, he turns into a berserker, losing all sense of reason, becoming unable to distinguish ally from foe. Like, imagine you were bestowed Kenpachi's Bankai. Would you really want to use it? What if you killed your own waifu? You'll be depressed for days because you get no bitch.
What was the plan then, genius?
The second major flaw is that the sheer Ryatsu from using this Bankai crushes the user's body, unless you are Kenpachi. Oh wait, Kenpachi has the toughest and most resilient body in Bleach. His tolerance to Ryatsu is insane, yet even he couldn't handle this much power, so anyone else would just, you know. Even though Kenpachi himself and his Bankai are formidable, it's simple in nature and easy to strategize against. Because if you stay away from Kenpachi for long enough, it's quite possible to defeat him. All you gotta do is But then again, that would be difficult to do since this demon can go at light speed. Those with the notification bell on would have seen our video completely breaking down Kenpachi's power. So don't be a freaking silly willy and stay in touch with our community to enjoy more peak fiction.
Now, you guys might be wondering, who the heck could beat the Zaraki Kenpachi? The GOAT, the legend, the Chad, a whole demon when it comes to fighting. Who? Well, the answer is Renji Aburai. What? Alright guys, calm down. Now before you think anime balls deep, you lost your mind. Hear me out. Well, it's true that Renji has few of the biggest and most L's in Bleach. Like my man was destroyed by both his girlfriend's brother and best friend. That's gotta be a new low. Hihiho Zabimaru was definitely one of the worst Bankais in Soul Society. Cause even though it had an insane reach and could be used for defense, it was weak as hell. So why is Renji above Kenpachi? Well, here's the kicker. That's because Hihiho Zabimaru was never Renji's true Bankai. Yep, just as you lot don't respect Renji, neither does his own Zanpakuto. Hence, gave him a false Bankai name and didn't take its true form. However, after his grueling training in the 1000-year Blood War arc with Squad Zero, Renji's Zanpakuto finally reveals the Bankai's true name, So Zabimaru. Unlike earlier, this form is more compact and made for mid to close range combat. On top of that, it's versatile and based on raw power rather than just some fancy techniques. In fact, Renji gets 3 powerful attacks with this Bankai. Number 1, Hihiho, which has enough power to crush its opponent's bones whilst acting as an extension of his arms. Then we have number 2, Orochio, that takes the shape of a snake and extends the blade for mid-range attacks. And then number 3, So Zabimaru's Zaga Teppo, in which jaws of raw spiritual energy are formed, trapping the opponent like a snake's constriction. Then a huge blast of Ryatsu is sent through its target's body, totally obliterating them. In all, So Zabimaru is packed with fighting ability alongside pure strength, which is why it's in 9th place. Of course, that's solely comparing the Bankais, not the characters, because we all know Kenpachi will literally destroy Renji.
Wow. Next up we have the fan favorite, cute and adorable little chibi, the respectable Captain Toshiro Hitsugaya with his Bankai Daiguren Hyorinmaru. Yes, put your hands together for the only Bankai that had made its wielder age appropriate. Well, other than this one quality, Daiguren Hyorinmaru is still a formidable Bankai. While Hitsugaya is a prodigy, he is still fairly young in comparison to the other Shinigami, and it's for this reason that his Bankai was in an incomplete state for the majority of the series. To use his Bankai in its complete state means that you have to literally become a Chad. Seriously though, this Bankai has insane capabilities. For instance, regeneration. When his ice breaks, the Bankai grows back on its own indefinitely as long as there is water, and we all know that there is moisture in the air. What? Then of course there's flash freezing, which Hitsugaya can use with a single hand over massive objects. In fact, anything that even touches him gets instantly frozen. Plus, an extension of flash freezing allows Hitsugaya to freeze all matter that is in front of him after only 4 seconds of building up his power. Moreover, this Bankai is also childproof, and what I mean to say is that it self-destructs before harming the wielder. Yes, the ice deflects in a different direction rather than hurting the Bankai user. These are only 3 of the multiple broken abilities that Hitsugaya's Bankai has, giving him an overall balanced fighting prowess. His Ice Wing can also be used for near impenetrable defense, and of course generating unimaginable amounts of ice in order to trap or attack opponents as he transforms it into pretty much anything that he wants. With so many attacks at its disposal, the versatility, range and damage potency of Hitsugaya's Bankai are pretty much higher than Renji's, making it one of the best long-range Bankais within all of Bleach.
Up next at number 7, we have the Bankai of the new Captain Commander himself, Shunsui Kyuraku. It is called Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinjo. I'm gonna butcher this shit and make it halal. Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju. Well, given the name, you can already tell that it comes along with some broken abilities, making opponents feel varying levels of despair. That's right, the first impact of his Bankai is psychological, a crucial tool in battle against powerful opponents. As this gloomy stage is set, the Bankai reveals its 4 acts, corresponding to its abilities and a play about a man and his partner. The first act is called Tamerakizu no Wakachai. I told you guys are gonna cringe, I'm sorry. This first act is of equal injury, where if the opponent hurts Shunsui, they receive the same backlash, similar to how if the man in the story gets injured, so does his partner. The second act, called Nidanme Zanki no Shitone, makes black spots appear on his target, causing them to bleed intensely. Shunsui explains that this corresponds to the man who feels so ashamed of wounding his partner that he collapses in shame and becomes incurably ill. The third act, Sandanme Dangyo no Faki. I'm joking. It's Fuchi, I think. Sandanme Dangyo no Fuchi. It summons a massive amount of water that engulfs both Shunsui and his opponent. They remain in the water until one of them runs out of Ryatsu and drowns, just like the man and his partner, who also hurl themselves into water. And lastly, the fourth act, Shimeno-dan. Itokore basamichi someno no. What the? Editor, please can you put a sound of text? I cannot pronounce it.
You can't tell me what to do.
It is the most brutal and a definite end for the opponent. The wielder sheaths their sword and winds a white thread around their target's throat multiple times before pulling it. This leaves a deep cut on the enemy's throat that devastatingly blows up their head, telling us that the story has come to an end, with the man's partner ignoring the regretful man's pleas and mercilessly sharing his throat. Woo-wee, wow, that's some dark shit. I mean, the enemy doesn't even live to tell the tale. What's even more scary is that this Bankai doesn't have a limit, as it scales to the enemy's power.
What do you mean by that?
This is broken, because even if the enemy is stronger in terms of Ryatsu, the Bankai has the ability to always take them down. However, there's just a little problem though. This Bankai can kill you. Yep, it's a double-edged sword, where the worst case scenario is that you die along with your enemy. When it comes to raw power, this Bankai doesn't rank all too high or all too low, as it is dependent on the enemy instead of the wielder. But it also means that the wielder can't speedily finish off a fight and ends up having a long drawn out battle of Ryatsu endurance. I mean, if you don't have some monster Ryatsu like Shunsui, let alone taking down top tier opponents, you won't even survive your own Bankai, fam. Moreover, it can also trap your allies into the play, forcing them to die as well. With these drawbacks, even someone as strong as Shunsui considers this as his last resort. That too, when his allies are far enough so that they do not get caught in its effects. Another drawback is, well, the wielder of this Bankai has to be in a menacing, gloomy mood to even summon it. So if you're like that, then well done, this is for you. But look at my guy Shunsui. He is like the most chill guy in Bleach. He can't be menacing at all, which is why the use of his Bankai had another limiter. Hence, he deserves the number 7 spot.
Coming in at number 6 is a fan favorite and basically the second protagonist of Bleach, Urahara Kisuke. Hey, come on, Uri, you actually fought your... That's because Urahara is the only character, other than Ichigo, who mastered his Bankai in just 3 days, creating the very method for Ichigo to use. Yep, just as Urahara is OP, so is his Bankai. Its name is Genon Biroki Benehime Aretame. Yep, it sounds as crazy as it is, as it takes the form of a giant woman who is also completely broken. This Bankai is actually quite simple to understand. For a limited time and in a certain radius, it allows its wielder to literally become the strongest person in existence. Alright guys, you guys can pack your bags and move on to the next one.
Move this man!
Okay, I'll explain what his Bankai actually does. Within the same constraint, Urahara's Bankai can allow him to deconstruct and reconstruct pretty much anything. That's right, this Bankai enables the user to alter the very structure of any object or person in its range. Whilst this doesn't seem as flashy as the other Bankais, cause it does not, provide an instant win button, for a genius like Urahara, this ability has limitless potential. That's because it can be used offensively to take apart opponents or cut them open. It's also near impossible to defend against, as the only requirement is the enemy has to be in the Bankai's range. Just think of it as Law's Ope no Mi. But the most interesting part is how you can use this Bankai for support. Regardless of the extent of damage, the user can reconstruct their bodies over and over to keep fighting. For instance, even after losing his sight to an attack, Urahara was able to stitch back his freaking eyes. Another ability one can use with this reconstructing power is enhancing any of their body parts. Like Urahara did this with his arm against Askin. This isn't even limited to himself, as it also can be used to empower his allies. However, sadly this Bankai has some critical flaws that even allows an average weeb like yourself to devise an easy plan to render it completely useless. First, this Bankai has a very limited range, but the bigger issue is that its effects are only temporarily applicable as long as the target is within its short radius. This means that an enemy can easily avoid all effects if they figure to stay outside of the Bankai's range. This also applies to the user themselves, meaning that any damage they sustain and fix during a fight will return after the Bankai is called back. So once again, it might just become a battle of endurance, after which all effects will be gone and the user will be vulnerable to attacks. For someone like Urahara, who's always 10 steps ahead, these weaknesses are just a mere hiccup. But for an average Joe, this Bankai could pose some challenges.
At number 5, we have one of the sexiest characters to grace the world of Bleach. You know and love him as the man who had mopped up Ichigo during the Substitute Shinigami arc. I am of course referring to Kuchiki Byakuya. Come on guys, you're not fooling anyone. I know that all of you had simped Byakuya the second that he had appeared on screen. Okay, but seriously, Senbonzakura Kageyoshi is one of the most elegant Bankai within all of Bleach. But why is it that it ranks above Urahara's Bankai? Well, it mainly comes down to how efficiently it can be utilized, as well as it having a lack of drawbacks. I mean, Urahara's Bankai has limits that he has to work around, whereas Byakuya's Bankai is very versatile. His Bankai is one of the fastest within the series even before the 1000-year Blood War arc, as he had matched Ichigo in speed despite it literally being the main power of Ichigo's Bankai. Later, he had even destroyed the 7th Espada, who was known for speed, having the fastest Sonido amongst the Vasto Lorde. However, we see the full power of Byakuya's Bankai against Gerard Valkyrie, who had possessed the heart of the Soul King, making him the strongest Sternritter within Bleach. Byakuya had showed off a new ability called Ika Senjinka, which sent an unfathomable amount of blades towards Gerard's head, allowing Hitsugaya to land a crucial blow. Despite landing such a powerful attack, Byakuya didn't seem exhausted at all, proving that his Bankai is now extremely refined and it is able to endure long drawn-out battles unlike the other Shinigami. On top of this, Senbonzakura Kageyoshi's precision is like no other. For example, Byakuya was easily able to protect Rukia and Renji against Gerard, even though he was a considerable distance away from them. Moreover, the petals can be turned into a billion blades, which are fired towards the opponent at fearsome speeds. All in all, you can do almost anything with his Bankai, even create barriers to trap opponents within before attacking them ruthlessly. No matter the foe, you can match them with Senbonzakura Kageyoshi, and this Bankai's offense and defense are top tier with zero drawbacks. I mean, what else could you want from a Bankai?
Coming in at number 4 is Kurosaki Ichigo. Yep, our protagonist might have the #1 character theme, but surprisingly, his Bankai is not. It's actually one of the simplest ones in Bleach.
I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
Now, we never actually got to see his new Bankai in the 1000-Year Blood War, but we can analyze what it would have been. It's a shame that yhwach blue-balled us all, you know what I'm saying? At its base, Tensa Zangetsu condenses Ryotsu into raw speed, which propels the user to a completely different level. I mean, even before mastering his Bankai, Ichigo outpaced Byakuya, our number 5 on this list. We saw this Bankai grow immensely throughout the series, being able to compete with some of the strongest people in existence, although he did lose that fight in the end.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
But we know what you're here for. What about his new Zanpakuto? When Ichigo receives his dual blades, his power, even in his Shikai state, surpasses that of his Bankai previously. And as we know, a Bankai can multiply one's power up to 10 times. So if Ichigo used his new Bankai in the 1000-Year Blood War arc, he'd be over 100 times stronger than he was before.
Source? Trust me, bro.
Assuming the basic powers are still the same, Ichigo's Bankai would likely just be an insane power boost, as from what we do see. It combines both of his blades into one, but his Bankai perfectly suits him, which is very, very important, as he can use the simple but outrageous boost in power in tandem with his Getsuga Tensho to obliterate anyone who's unlucky enough to come face to face with him. This power was so insane that yhwach saw it as a serious threat, and this is after he absorbed the Soul King and basically became a god. Yet Ichigo's Bankai could have killed him, and before he even used it, he was doing extremely well against yhwach. So before the huge boost of his Bankai, he was roughly equal to yhwach, excluding his future altering powers, of course. So imagine his power with his final Bankai state. Ichigo's Bankai is actually the top of this list if you consider the raw power output and the unknown potential abilities he would gain with the fusion of different races. I mean, Ichigo managed to kill yhwach with no Bankai, forcing him to rely on the power of plot armor to revive himself, and with his Bankai, he'd be infinite times stronger, if not greater than Soul King himself. Remember, Old Man Zangetsu and Hollow Ichigo are both the spirit of Ichigo Zanpakuto, so their individual Bankai would grant him various abilities from Zero Obscurus to Getsuga Tensho and even his Quincy moves. But combining all these powers together, it's a whole different ballgame. We haven't even seen it and what it could produce. However, so far, with what we know of Ichigo's Bankai, it's restricted to only attack and has no defense or versatility. Power alone can't make it number 1, as proved by our number 10 pick, Kenpachi. It'll make sense, right? Don't doubt us. Alright, Yusuf, what's number 3?
Next up, we have the Bankai of the one and only Creep of Soul Society, Captain of the 12th Squad, and Head of the Shinigami Research Division, Mayori Kuroshchi's Bankai, Konjiki Ashisoki Jiko Shikushuko. I ain't gonna bother pronouncing that, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, listen, chill. I know what you're thinking. Hey, but D, why is Mayuri's Bankai so high up on the ladder? Even higher than Ichigo? I mean, even someone like Uryu one-shotted his Bankai back in the first arc, right? Well, wait till you see just how OP this Bankai really is, even though it's a weird-looking baby. So, what's so special about this grotesque creature? Well, first off, this is the only Bankai to be literally a living creature. But unlike normal living beings, this Bankai can diffuse a toxin through its breath in a 200-meter radius that is lethal to anyone who breathes it. I don't know about you, but that just sounds like a really horrible case of bad breath. Anyways, the only available antidote is of course kept with his lieutenant and Mayuri himself. So in order to survive, you would have to fight this creepy looking thing all whilst dying, then defeat Mayuri and then take in the antidote. antidote. I would rather just, just die. However, what makes it even more scarier is that Mayuri can literally change the composition of the toxin so that the enemy can't find an antidote or develop immunity. This Bankai can also draw out numerous blades from his chest, allowing it to land some heavy damage to the opponent. But wait, you might say that a living creature can easily be mind controlled to attack its master, right? Like, that's nowadays quite common and normal. Listen, Mayuri has it covered by modifying it to such a level that it can self-destruct in any case. Furthermore, the Bankai has an upgrade called Matai Fuku in Shotai.
Abey jaldi bol, kal subah panvel nikalna.
In this even more enormous form, Mayuri can send information to it based on each opponent in the midst of battle. This allows him to customize the Bankai's attack according to who he's dealing with, giving a seriously unfair advantage. Technically speaking, Mayuri's Bankai almost has no weaknesses. This Bankai's rank gets even more solidified as it also has regeneration, making it near impossible to defeat. So if you ever come across this dude, just run.
Now, let us come to arguably the most broken Bankai ever, Captain Commander Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekune's Zanka no Tachi. Having seen this power used only once against the Quincy King yhwach, this Bankai has some of the most destructive capabilities in the whole series. It's kind of like a bad fart, silent but deadly.
Stop it.
Seriously, what I mean is that this power is so strong, it completely deletes anything that comes into contact with it without exception. What makes it so scary is that it gives no visible signs of the incoming danger, because all flames that had previously burnt so fiercely from his Shikai get retracted into his blade and sealed into its tip. From then on forth, anything that the tip touches gets indiscriminately obliterated from existence. Now this is the deadly west state of the Bankai. You see, the way Zanka no Tachi works is that it uses powers inspired by the 4 cardinal directions. The east of the Bankai gives Yamamoto impenetrable defense by wrapping his body in a temperature above 15 million degrees Celsius. It's almost as if Yamamoto becomes a walking sun. To put this into perspective, the surface of the sun is only 5,000 degrees Celsius, which means that the sheer heat of this ability could easily defeat opponents like the fake yhwach, who had stated that he would have instantly died if it wasn't for his Blut Veen. These two abilities already solidify Zanka no Tachi as one of the strongest Bankais. Now this Bankai still holds 2 more broken abilities. The power of Zanka no Tachi South allows its user to become a necromancer, calling forth the ones who were killed with his blade, all to be used as puppet soldiers. This power can open up many possibilities, since the user doesn't have to do anything by themselves and can wear the opponent down without getting harmed or exhausted. A sadistic bonus of this power is the psychological impact. For example, Yamamoto had used it on the fake yhwach, who had seen his old comrades coming back from the dead in order to fight him, making him squeal in agony. And the last of the 4 cardinal directions, the north of his Bankai, is called Tenchi Kaijin, which is a powerful technique and a final attack. Despite it seemingly being just a straight up powerful slash, in reality no one can survive this attack as they completely are incinerated. But at this point, you're wondering, if this Bankai is so broken, why did it not bag the #1 spot? Well, that's actually because out of all of the Bankais on this list, no one comes even close to the sheer scale of Zanka no Tachi's drawback. Because this Bankai literally destroys everything. You, your mum, your family, your village, the entire country, and even Zawardo! It's 15 million degrees. Just think about how ridiculous this power is. If used over a prolonged period, not only would the user die from his own ability, their entire surroundings would be scorched to ashes. And yes, this just shows how uncontrollable this Bankai really is. This effectively puts a time limit on its use, which is a major problem in the long run. Had the downsides not been so extreme, it could have easily been ranked as the #1 Bankai.
So we finally reached #1 of the best Bankai in Bleach. And the answer may surprise you. At the top of this list is Squad Zero's Ichibe Hyusube's Shirafure Ichimonji. Huh? Okay fine, I know you're probably wondering, why? We only saw this guy use his Bankai only once and he got clapped by yhwach. In fact, why is he even above our beloved Yamamoto? Well, first of all, the only reason he lost is because yhwach unlocked the power of plot armor. Otherwise, there's no way you can defeat this Bankai. Being the first Bankai ever, it literally has the power to change the names of targets by writing kanji on their bodies. What this means is that the target's existence itself gets modified with the new name's property and powers. For instance, in the fight against yhwach, he used this ability to make him as powerless as an ant, which means that this guy can beat anyone. This is on top of already having the insane ability to erase the name of anything that the blade's ink covers, including living beings. This in effect renders the nameless person powerless. Plus, this Zanpakuto is probably the only thing I know that can rule and control over a color. Yes, I didn't even know that could be a thing. All the black color in existence, dead or alive, gets taken and churned into raw power, making this Bankai even more busted. Now, apart from literally changing the essence of a person, there is another major thing that plays into this Bankai being number 1. It can buff teammates. That's right, simply by writing something absurd like elephant or dinosaur onto his squad members, he would have instantly boosted their power. Well, we won't really know the extent to this because he definitely gatekept this ability pretty well. Overall though, Ichimonji has the ultimate attack damage with no drawbacks along with an immaculate defense whilst being able to buff everyone around. And as you guys know from this list, that's really rare. I mean, most Bankais are detrimental to those around them and even the wielders at times, but not Ichibe's. With the raw power easily being equal to Yamamoto's without the flaw of killing everyone around, Ichimonji deserves the number 1 spot. And with that, we have covered our top 10 picks of the best Bankais in Bleach according to our criteria. Make sure you guys support DBZ Imran by checking out his channel. He has an amazing catalog for Bleach, and if you guys want to see more of our list and picks, then check out animeexplained.com.